putting here on this side.
Oh, yeah.
It might be just a little bit.
Slide
Good idea.
Yeah, we
Slide down.
Just maybe slide up here. Let's get. Oh, is this gonna be okay with you, Ed?
You have the, you need a movie stand, dude? Mike, you know you're up against the third debate tonight.
Yeah, he knows I know.
It's on again on station.
Okay.
It's a boxing match.
Freeform wrestling.
Everybody's looking for the knockout, so.
Well, welcome. This is the Police Community Advisory Board. My name is Giovanni Criseri. I serve as the chair of the board, and we will not actually spend much time doing any introductions because you have this little brochure there that Christina is pointing out that has our little bios if you want to know who's who when we're speaking. But for the most part today, we want to hear from the chief and then get a little bit of discussion on the bike path cameras and also the Halloween operations plan. So we'll just jump right in.
All right, first of all, thank you to Chico State, Drew, and John. We have Chief Beatty here from the University Police Department, so appreciate your hospitality, allowing us to host this meeting at the university. So we try to pick two topics that were germane to the university, one being the bike path camera project and then the Halloween operations plan. So speaking on the bike path camera, I really want to hear from the students that are in the audience. What do you guys think about the bike path now? Have you seen a difference? Is it about the same? Anything different from your perspective as a student? Can someone share that perspective, please?
Someone that's used the bike path.
Exactly. That's probably a good
preface.
caveat. So.
Do you hear?
Zach.
Here
we go.
Well, like you said, I don't really use the bike path that often, but I know it's really well advertised, the installation of it, so I know a lot of people know about it, which I think that alone will make
That's a
it a more
start,
secure
certainly.
place. Yeah.
Certainly that's a start. Any other comments about the bike path?
Or any feedback you've received from peers?
Well, we are writers for the Orion, and they really want it, like, we're doing an article to speak about the bike path, and they just, they want to make students very aware of it.
We've done past articles too, so I think a lot of students know about it, and probably just knowing makes you feel like a little bit more safe.
Sure, sure. And it's not the end-all. Bike path cameras are not the end-all. It's not a magic bullet, so to speak, that will always reduce or eliminate crime. We know that won't be the case, but we do want to see it mitigated, and I think it's been mitigated so far. But it's not certainly now a crime-free zone like maybe some had thought. It doesn't work quite that easily. If it was, I'd have a camera on every street corner in the city of Chico, but that's not practical. What we wanted to do is to understand that, number one, it was an issue, and when our students do not feel safe, like I've said many times, like Chief Beatty has said, and don't feel comfortable using a bike path that essentially runs right along your campus and right into the heart of the residential housing community for students, there's a problem. That is not that is not okay with me as chief. I know it's not okay with Chief Beatty either. So getting that bike path camera project underway, a community effort that really was not just us, it was a university, it was the associated students, it was other concerned community members that wanted to see something change. And for me, the greatest catalyst was the fact that we had a student that was killed by a drunk driver on Nord Avenue because she was afraid of using that bike path at the time, which would have made the perfect route for her to get home. In fact, she wasn't using that, was on a busy thoroughfare, hit and killed on her bicycle on a busy street. I find that unacceptable as chief, and I know John did as well. So having this camera is really step one of many, many steps we have to take to enhance safety in this community, to enhance safety around the university and in the university as well. So I think it's a good start, a good project. It's not the end all what we need to do, but it's a good start. Yes, ma'am.
Has there been more lighting been added, like more street lights around certain areas? I know around by close to Escalade, the one behind what's that restaurant? I'm not sure and there's certain areas that
Is it
aren't-
Nash's back over there?
Yeah, or is it Nash's? It's before that, it's right around Cohasset, close to Cohasset area. It's
Okay.
by,
Like 19?
it's like down the street by that one white mansion that's built.
Okay, so Cohasset and Esplanade, so back on the Esplanade there, that section?
Has there been like more lighting added there? 'Cause I know.
We've had several lighting projects throughout the city, and that's probably an area, and I don't know specifically, Dave, do you know?
Yeah, well, it may not insert additional lighting, but they've switched over to an LED lighting system. It's brighter and more energy efficient, so that might be the difference that you're seeing is the brightness level. If you look at the Fifth Street corridor down Fifth and Ivy, that area, that's over years ago, they completely changed the lighting there. Looks like a nice big runway. It's great for us. When our officers are out patrolling in the evening, obviously we can see better down the alleys and side corners, things like that. So yeah, you have seen that, particularly in the South Campus area, but across the entire city, they plan to go to the LED lighting there.
So it's a combination of the LED lighting and additional lighting, particularly on the Fifth Street corridor, like Deputy Chief Britt said. That does make a difference, and we think that lighting is another component of infrastructure that can make people safer, so we're all for that.
Yeah, like I never remember being safe, like walking around it, because it wasn't well lit, and there's
Right,
been,
right.
traffic and stuff.
Now, I will tell you that we had at a council meeting, a couple meetings ago, someone complained about the brightness of those lights, so you can't please everyone. Just so you know, just so you know. But that's kind of infrastructure project like bike path cameras that do enhance safety and something that we're serious about, so. Anything else on the bike path camera project? John?
A little update, the university's portion of the bike path camera project. I spoke to interim vice president of business and finance Hyatt yesterday at a meeting regarding that. Our portion of the bike path, although quite a bit smaller than what the city covered, is probably twice the cost of what the city project was because of all the turns and the number of cameras that are required. So that, I received a quote from the company, and the university, although delayed right now, is moving forward to provide for the rest of the cameras on the entire bike path onto the university property. And there is some other benefits to the university that we'll be able to have cameras on the Ola lawn and some other areas, boiler chiller plant and others. So that is coming.
And just so you know, there's a community-wide effort right now to look at different locations that could fund some additional cameras in addition to the university, like Chief Feeney had said. Areas such as the Children's Playground area, which is right adjacent to the university, the downtown City Plaza Park, 1 Mile, Fifth Street corridor, those areas would benefit as well. And it's amazing, I'm just down at the International Associations of Chiefs of Police Conference down in San Diego recently, and they have this giant, about 600,000 square foot building of nothing but police toys. So I was in heaven, looking at all the things that are available. And technology-wise, I had a private demo of a system that would allow you to connect every camera, not only public cameras, but any private cameras that would give us access to them. You can coordinate them with what's called ShotSpotter. ShotSpotter is a system they have in fairly large cities, because it is a fairly pricey piece of equipment that triangulates gunfire. And so you could literally have a system in this community where someone would take a gun, fire it, that would activate ShotSpotter, that would then activate cameras, would activate notifications into our dispatch center, and you could pull it up real time and actually see potentially crime that is occurring and allow our officers to hold those people that are committing violent crime accountable. And the technology right now is there. Of course, like anything, it's the cost that is sometimes a little bit prohibitive. But as far as setting up and enhancing safety in very specific sections of our community, something like that would go a long way to making students and the rest of the community safer. So some good stuff out there. We just need to find a way to fund it. So I'm going to be passing a little coffee can for donations, so if you wouldn't mind contributing. But we do, in all seriousness, we do have members of this community that would like to see some of these projects go forward to enhance our ability as city funding.
question.
Yes.
With the possibility of other cameras being displaced around the community, where are those conversations happening to make sure that that happens and where? Who's going to determine that and where those conversations?
So, I have expressed the areas that I am most concerned about, and that's exactly what I just said. In terms of playground, the Fifth Street corridor, I think, quite frankly, the North Campus area, I think there'd be some impetus to have cameras put there, because quite frankly, we just had 3 shootings in that area, a very small area, in the last 4 weeks, which I find unacceptable. And that traditionally, for you who are not as old as I am, when I was going to school here, that was all student housing. That North Cedar, Columbus, First Avenue, Rancheria, that was all student housing, and it should be. It's literally a stone's throw from the campus. But that has changed. That dynamic has changed in that area, and cameras in that particular part of town, like I said, the Fifth Street corridor, in our parks, 1 mile, that kind of area, I think really can enhance safety. It's not the end all. It doesn't stop all crime, but it lets people know that we're paying attention. I think in this day and age, that's important. And most major cities, if you guys did not know this, most major cities have cameras everywhere, to include ShotSpotter, like I mentioned, other technology like that, to include license plate readers and all of that, in an effort to enhance safety. In fact, I was listening to the chief of Chicago, did a little presentation on some of that stuff, talked about that technology as far as ShotSpotter and cameras in some of the most violent neighborhoods in Chicago. Chief Jackson, yes.
So will those decisions be made, though, like you have your recommendations, will they be made, though, through city council, or who's going to decide, though?
Well, to accept any donation, it has to go before council, so there'll be opportunities for public comment and that type of thing, and that's appropriate, I think a good thing. But any donation we accept, like this current bike path camera project, had to go before council before we could accept the money. So it's a good place to have that vetting conversation. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would recommend simply we keep our acres and the restrooms, because those are the places the high vandalism occurs.
Right.
And
right.
don't we also have a program where you can register your business's video through the police department, or did that ever happen? Or?
We do have a database that we ask people who have cameras to let us know that they have cameras, so that if there's a crime in that neighborhood, we can contact people with cameras and see if they caught a portion of that. So
Cool.
we do, yeah. If you have a security camera that shows out into the public, please do call the police department and let us know.
But some of the software that's out there would actually allow you not only to have a system like Ed is talking about, but have an ability to access it real time in our dispatch center or in a command center. Say we have a shooting near a particular business, we could access those cameras and look at them real time, which would be very significant in the centers. We have a lot of cameras around. We don't always know where those cameras are.
We're also working with some businesses and apartment complexes that want increased security into their facilities, that they would install the cameras, similar to the same cameras that we put on the bike path, but then grant us access to them to increase the security in their specific complex or business.
So all these efforts are force multipliers. I don't have enough police officers. John does not have enough police officers to put on every corner like we would like. Now, if the community wants to provide that to them, I'd love to have it. I think it would be a great community to have that. But absent that, we have to look at technology that will enhance the staff we do have, and cameras, ShotSpotters, that technology, real-time crime centers. All the large cities have them, and I think for this community, it'd be a very, very good investment.
Oakley Park, could that be added to your list of
Sure.
places where cameras might be beneficial?
Sure. I mean, there's a ton of little parks like Depot Park, Oakley Park, Rotary Park, those areas as well, really would benefit from a camera program.
So one of the things that we've been, to answer your question, Trey, as well, part of it is where a lot of the community members have expressed a lot of concern. That's wherever the donors show up in some ways, that's kind of where we start talking about that. So I know, for instance, the DCBA has been, really pushing on the children's park. That's one of the areas that they really feel like that is, so they, and they're looking at who in their community, can help that. So that helps. I think that's been push some of the conversation, but I do think that, you know, looking at a community-wide, you know, what are some of the priorities and how we decide those is really important.
Too many priorities, unfortunately, not for cameras right now, but your point is well taken.
I just wanted to point out too, when we talk about crime cameras, it doesn't mean that we're monitoring the cameras all the time. Very few police departments do. They're crime cameras. When a crime is or has occurred, that the police officers can go back to the video to review that as evidence. I know San Francisco, when they put in the first 18 or 19 crime cameras, that was a big to-do with regards to not monitoring them because Big Brother watching, but for the most part, if we have a crime that occurs, then they're accessed.
And as you could well imagine, it is labor intensive to sit and watch every camera that you would have access to, almost impossible. Now, large police agencies do have that. We're not a large agency, we're a mid-sized agency, and we can't afford to have one person just watching cameras. But in the event you had that incident happen, not only the value after the fact, but even real time, if you pull it up knowing a crime has occurred in a particular area, you can get valuable information that would allow us to apprehend the offenders. So that's, I think, important for the community. Donna?
So specifically talking about the bike path cameras, is just Chico PD monitoring those cameras when they are live monitoring them, or they just have access to them, or is it both the Chico PD and the university PD?
Excellent question. So we gave access to the University Police Department to monitor those bike path cameras that are really, the nexus to both the University Police Department and Chico Police Department is obvious. So absolutely, they have access to those cameras.
And we'll be putting them to use on Halloween.
Beautiful.
Are those cameras, are they fixed, or are they ones that you can zoom in and tilt and zoom?
The location is fixed, but you can zoom in and do some amazing things with them to the point of I could probably have this piece of paper, and if you knew you had to go and read this, you could probably read that possibly.
A few of the cameras are pan, tilt, zoom, so but others are fixed with zoom only.
It's really, in Oakland, we had, as a neighborhood watch, we had access to some of the cameras in our neighborhood, and you could zoom in and watch people do drug deals. I mean, right down to their fingers.
Yes,
Pretty amazing.
it's pretty amazing technology, and you always have to be careful that you're not turning into Big Brother, like John said.
Right.
And we don't want to do that. These are public areas where people really don't have an expectation of privacy. Not like we're looking into homes or private areas. We're talking about general public areas in the community that really be the same as a police officer walking down the path.
Could you use something like VIPs to man the cameras? Or, something, other people in our community who would have the skills that you need, the skill set?
Ed, you're going to say something?
The only problem with these particular cameras is they're run on cell phone service. So as you sit and stare at the cameras, it's running on your data plan. So they're not really designed to be monitored.
Okay.
They're more of a deterrent and evidence gathering after the fact. They're not really designed to have a dispatcher or a CSO or a volunteer sit and stare at the
Could
cameras.
they be designed that way? Could they be altered that way so they would work that way? It seems if you had somebody there watching it, and all of a sudden you just notify your police. You
would need to run hardwire lines rather than cell service. These are all on the perimeter. They're not. They're not designed for.
So that's what makes them affordable. If we were to have to run lines for every camera that we have, it'd make it cost prohibitive. But it does not preclude us, if we had an incident there, we knew something was happening, or if we had a series of crimes at a certain time, certain day, we could monitor those cameras if needed. So we do have that ability. It'd be hard to do it 24/7, almost impractical or impossible. But we would have the ability at specific times, if we knew, we had like I said, a pattern of crime or a specific incident that was going on, we could access those cameras real time and watch them. So. All right, any other questions or comments on the bike path camera project? I think it's a good thing for our community and was really the start of what I hope to be many cameras throughout our community.
I had a quick question.
Sure.
I was just wondering if there's any signs or any signage or anything posted, that says that this is being monitored.
There are.
Okay,
We made a point of that because that's
great.
really half the value of the camera system is to let people know that we're paying attention, that this area is being monitored, and that's just a courtesy anyway, but to let the criminal know that, hey, we've got cameras here, and pay attention. So that's a good thing. We wanted to advertise that, and we did, very much so, yes. All right, let's talk about Halloween. I'll let John, you want to talk about what you're going to do, and I'll talk a little bit about what we're doing. It's certainly in conjunction with each other's police departments, but John, if you want to go ahead and kick that off.
Last year, we had a very good plan in place. We brought in 32 additional personnel from throughout the state, from the other CSUs. Unfortunately, this year, we're not bringing in those bodies. But we are reaching out to partners here in Butte County, state parks, Fish and Game, and others that are going to help out with regards, and we have all hands on deck for our department as well to handle our area of responsibility based on last year's plan. The crew unit, the crisis response unit for the state wants to pull out and start to pull away from planning events and deal more with crisis response. And also their numbers are way down as well. So this year, being that the actual Halloween day is Monday, and yes, we do have a weekend before, we made that decision to try it this year. We will have sufficient personnel between Bike Patrol and other partners to handle that area. And basically, my plan is to tie up the bike path, the cell phone lines for the bike path for a few hours each night of the weekend to, number one, to try it out. Number two, give our dispatchers something to help us out on as well. As Mike said, force multiplier. So we will have our personnel handling campus and second and through the bike path. So the way it worked out last year with the Chico PD's operations plan, it just kind of melded together, and we're looking forward to that this year, although there won't be as many police officers on our side of it.
All right, thank you, John. So for us, it'll be a 5-day operational period starting Thursday before Halloween and then extending through the weekend until Monday. It's always tough to judge, what kind of activity level we'll have when Halloween falls on a Monday. Typically, I got to tell you, going out and partying on a Monday when you got to go to school the next day or go to work the next day is not real appealing. Isn't that right, Benson? Right? Not real appealing. So, but we have to plan for it, and because you just never know in Chico. But we expect, my hunch is the busiest day will be Saturday night. That's when people want to go out and have fun. But really, Halloween has been much tamer, much more under control, just like Labor Day has been over the last several years in a very positive direction. We expect that to continue, but we do have to have sufficient staff. So most of the department, in some form or fashion, will be working during that 5-day period. We'll have some additional help from some of the local county sheriff's agencies to help us with transports of prisoners. ABC will be out again like they always are during the weekend. And like I said, we'll have most of the department working in some form or fashion. To include our dispatchers and our friends from CHP also will be out and about. So expected to be busy, not overwhelming. It's not like Halloween, falling on a Saturday. That's a little bit of more of a concern. This just extends our operational period out a little longer than we'd like. 5 days, a long time to have a lot of staff out and about. It is very taxing, but we want to make sure we have adequate staff to keep everyone safe, and I think we have that in our plan. So any questions about Halloween? Who's dressing up, first of all, and going out? Someone raise their hand. What are you going to?
University administrator.
Perfect.
I'd like to point out that police they wear the same costumes every year.
No, we have that a lot. I can't tell you how many times walking down the street we say, hey, nice costume, nice costume. Yeah, thank you.
Steve, I have a question.
Yes.
And a question for the speakers as well. Do you know if we will be putting out an announcement message to the community like we've done in the past about Halloween and safety?
Sure. We can do that as far as Chico PD, and maybe we can do a joint one with the
We're doing,
we also in the past have done one through the news or on TV.
Yes.
I'm not sure if we're going to be running that again if anyone knows.
So Mike, can you talk,
Yeah, so the glass ban, just so you know, last night at council, being a 5-day operational period, normally that's a 4-day extension. We had it passed at council last night to extend all 5 days, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, there's a glass ban in that glass ban zone. We get that information out to the students so they know exactly where that is, so they're not caught unaware. And certainly, like I said, we can get that information to the university, and we'll pass it on, and that can be part of our message as well.
And social accountability weekend.
It is, and actually, we're looking at extending that whole social accountability program beyond just special events. I've had a conversation with the district attorney, and you guys aware of the social accountability program? Essentially, is those individuals that are of a certain age, and let's say they get caught for, I don't know, urinating on someone's property or whatever, there's an ability essentially not to have that go on the record by working off in community service. It's something that the district attorney's office offers if you fit a certain criteria, age-wise and offense-wise, and allows you not to have that go on your record and cause any kind of undue harm for future job employment opportunity. So,
My question for the students, if I may, your thoughts, views about safety during Halloween weekend, if you will.
I'm writing an article that'll go out tomorrow about Halloween, and I'm just trying to focus on kind of the dangers with all the out-of-towners that come in, because I know that even my house, and people have had things stolen, and so what are you guys specifically doing, or what should we do to stay safe? Because
can I address that real quick for you? So one of the most important things I think people do is not to invite people from out of town, number one. And the university and our students and college students have done a great job of really buying into the theme of Keep It Chico. Probably something you've heard around campus, Keep It Chico. And when we keep it Chico, quite frankly, everything is manageable. Labor Day, when we had the 18,000 people that were coming to town to float in the river and then come back into our community intoxicated, they're the ones that were tearing things up. Mostly it's not our students here. There's a few that get arrested, get caught up in some things, but as far as riots, tearing up the town, our students are not doing that. It's people that come from out of town, feel like they're empowered, and do things that our students will not do. So keeping it Chico, that effort I think has really paid dividends on most of our major holidays. St. Patrick's Day, obviously that's not a non-school day now, but Labor Day especially and Halloween really have seen a difference. In fact, this whole school year, except for the first week, was a little rowdy. After that settled down, it's been great. We just talked to our watch commander in a management team meeting, said really the school year has gone very well, very few issues in the South Campus, which is really something good to hear. But keeping it Chico, not having open parties, that is probably the nexus to more crime than any other event that we have in this town. Our open parties where you're just essentially opening your doors and saying, y'all come. And when you say y'all come, guess what? Y'all comes. And you don't know who you're getting. You'd have gang members with guns or knives or whatever. You have people that really aren't accountable or feel accountable to you as the host, and you just can't control it. And it may seem kind of cool, we're going to have this event, we're just going to invite anyone off the street. Well, if you do that, just know that likely you're going to have a problem. And the only time that we've had really issues with parties typically is when uninvited people come and then issues start for whatever reason. That's when the shootings and the stabbings and things like that happen. So keeping it Chico, keeping your parties control, and to people that you know and trust, or at least have some nexus to your friends or roommates, that makes a huge difference.
So one other thing I'm wondering, so say a lot of times it's often to be random people just come on our porch. Would you suggest to immediately contact the police regarding those instances, or just like what's your advice?
Typically you'd ask them to leave. And if they're belligerent and causing a disturbance or something, then you can call us and we'll come and we'll deal with them. In fact, we'd much rather have that, deal with it early, than have to deal with it later where they've attacked someone, punched someone, whatever.
So in addition to what Chief O'Brien said as well, I want to put out there, and this is something that, see something, say something. And I know that keeps getting put out there, but we can't be everywhere all of the time. And we need, if you see something or a carload of people that are a problem, or a walking group of people that are being, violent or, say something, call and let us know what what they look like, things like that. If you see somebody and you believe that you saw what might have been a real gun versus a fake, call us. We want to know beforehand, and if you can just provide as much information to the dispatcher as possible, just to let us know. Last year in the Second and Hazel lot, we stopped 7 out of 8 people. One guy got away, but in 2 carloads, gang members from Stockton, they had a sawed-off shotgun that was not a prop. They had a .22 pistol that was loaded. It fell out of the guy's pants when the officer went to search him. A bunch of weed and a bunch of cash. And they're right across the street from the UPD, partying in the parking lot because they're from out of town. They didn't know, they just saw the parking lot. But, our officers saw them. But if somebody else calls, let us know. These are things that, we all have to take an active role in keeping our community safe from the predators that come in from outside. And with your help, we can do that.
And just so you know, it's an environment that will attract people from outside, and it will sometimes attract not only gang members, but predators. Remember the individual we arrested for the sexual assault of numerous students here on campus. That's very disturbing, and we did catch that person convicted and will not see the light of day, at least in most of our lifetime. So that's a very positive thing. But when we're paying attention and watching out for each other, like Chief Feeney said, it makes us all safer as a community. And you guys, that you're out there, you're living in these communities, don't be afraid to call us and say, hey, this doesn't look right. You guys we all as human beings have, radar and senses. We can tell when something is not right. There's something out of place. See people acting in a certain way. Not all of that is criminal, but a lot of that suspicious activity that you see and you sense is not right. That's something to pay attention to and see if there's a nexus to maybe some criminality that you think would be reportable. And it's always okay to call. We'll tell you if it's something we can do something about or not. I'd rather hear about it than not hear about it.
Yeah, I'm with Ben Sum with the local chapter of the ACLU, and we will be out on Halloween doing watch. We have bright yellow shirts with red ACLU written across them. We'll be at 5th and Ivy, the plaza, probably on 2nd Street, depending on how many people we have. We'll be in Parrish too, so. Has Michael Coyle talked to you yet?
Not yet.
Okay, I'll get it. As far as your porch goes, put up a sign, be proactive, say, you come up here, we're 911 and you, no problem.
Cassie, you got something?
I'm just curious if you could walk us through standard protocol when an officer shows up to a noise disturbance or drunk in public, because these are, for the most part, I'm assuming non-violent crimes. So I'm wondering if you can just walk us through, is this a fine? Is this a misdemeanor? Is this person going to jail? Like, what would that look like?
It depends. People that, and just remember when you say drunk in public intoxication, if there is arrest, it's an arrest not necessarily to punish, it's an arrest to take you out of harm's way. A lot of times people that are intoxicated, I think we all can think back to maybe those times when we maybe had a few too many to drink, right? We all be honest that we're people and human and have made mistakes. Your judgment is not always the best. And so when you're in that situation to the point where you're staggering down the street, you either can become a victim of crime or you can commit crime because your judgment is not there. So those laws where you can't take care of yourself or you're a danger to yourself or others, that kind of thing, that would necessitate, easy for me to say, an arrest. And or, if they're not too intoxicated, a conversation with a friend, hey, you need to get this person home and off the street. We do that often on a Friday or Saturday night when we see someone that maybe is a little intoxicated. Maybe it's not appropriate to take them to jail to sober up, but it is appropriate to get them off the street because they're acting foolish or they're a danger, putting themselves in unnecessary danger just by the fact that they're intoxicated. So really that law is designed to help people and protect people, not to punish. Now others, if you're urinating, that's a citation. You fight with the cops, obviously you're going to go to jail. It just depends. And it depends on the incident. Mostly, a lot of those are citations related. If you have an alcohol beverage and you're a minor, that kind of thing, that would necessitate a ticket. And as far as the penalty for that one, the real expensive piece of that is the loss of your license. So we'd rather not have to cite people for that, and we still do. Our citations are down in that particular area, but, walking around with a beer or some kind of a container of alcohol, our cops have seen it enough where, you're not going to fool us, see it in the different containers, and you're underage, not a smart thing. And even if you are of age, you can't have an open container of alcohol in the city of Chico. So there's just too many to address individually, Cassie. But generally, a lot of those nuisance type crimes would necessitate a ticket. Some involve an arrest, most are citation.
And one quick follow-up question. I noticed that you both were talking about how you'll have increased law enforcement personnel for Halloween. What about behavioral health and the medical center? Are other community partners also staffing up?
So particularly our NLO partners, always during these special events have additional staffing. Because if we're taking people to jail and/or, people that are highly intoxicated, normally they're going to go to jail, or excuse me, to the hospital first. And just, that brings up another good point I'm going to address real quick. And it's always been a little bit of a concern, I think, with our student population, or anyone that's under the legal limit. If you have a friend, I don't care what age that person is, and they're in distress, meaning they have drank enough where you feel the need to have to watch them, I can't tell you how many tragedies that I have seen personally, and others in this room, because a phone call was not made thinking, well, I'm going to get my friend in trouble. Let me tell you something, we're not concerned about taking that person, issuing them a citation. We don't want to see them die. And I think we're better now, because we have received numerous calls now from students saying, hey, my friend's not doing well, can you come? Because the reality, if you're thinking that you have to sit up and watch someone, it doesn't take much to fall asleep and have that friend aspirate because you weren't able to watch them. And that's something I want to emphasize, and if you pass on to other students, other people that may be underage, we're not concerned about the fact, well, we are concerned, but we're not going to take some kind of enforcement action because your friend is overly intoxicated. To the point where you're worried that you think, I better sit up and watch, that's the time to call so we can get medical attention there and get them help. That's the most important thing. I will tell you, the only time that we would typically become really involved in something is if someone dies. If someone dies, then we're going to know where they were drinking, gave them alcohol, then it becomes a big deal. But getting that person help for us is what we want. That will not necessitate a investigation. Does that make sense? That is important. If you could put that in your paper, it would be wonderful. Because I think we've kind of turned the corner on that in a lot of ways. I think students are much more educated now. But in the past, I think John and my deputy chief can attest, we've had too many young people die because help was not rendered to those people.
That's part of the reason for the social accountability program. The lion's share of the arrests is referred to that, or we call 647 that, it's the top of classification. And that's the reason for that program. So it's not the end of the world, it's not the end of your life, you're not going to slam with that and put that down on a job questionnaire. So that you get that off your record. If you're still kind of learning the lesson, yeah, we shouldn't be doing that on a special event weekend for creating problems.
And even if they're not distressed, get them in a cab and get them home before they get distressed.
But the point is, if someone is starting to show signs of, that's serious. When someone passes out because of a high level of alcohol in their system, that is serious, and it needs to be treated seriously. And that's the time to get them medical attention. If not, calling us to get medical aid there, then transport that person to the hospital. You do not want to take a chance with someone and thinking, well, I'll watch, I'll stay awake. I can tell you, I couldn't stay awake and watch someone. I don't know about anyone else, and maybe the younger people could. I couldn't. And then you're putting a lot of responsibility on that one individual to watch someone else. That really, it doesn't need to be that way. Simply get that person help, and you don't have to worry about it. That person will live, survive, and it will not be the end of the world, believe me.
Chief, just one thing about putting somebody in your car. I'd call 911. As a registered nurse, you don't want to put an overly intoxicated person in your car. You don't know how they're going to respond. You don't know what's going to happen to them. And if you're driving and they kind of freak out, you don't want to have to deal with that. If they're driving and they pass out, you don't want to have to deal with that. So it's better safe than sorry to just call 911 if you're at all concerned about that.
If it raises that level,
Yeah.
certainly. There are some that you can transport, and it's not an issue.
Right.
But ones that are highly intoxicated, no. Just go ahead and call. They'll get help there. They'll take care of them, and then you won't have to worry about it. And that person will live. And that's the most important thing. Remember that, please.
So in our safety announcement that we'll be coming out with again, and it'll be the standard announcement as we put out in addition to part of the plan, it's going to be much like the one last year. However, it still reiterates the fact that, you should not wander off by yourselves. You need to watch out for each other. People on Halloween are wearing costumes and masks, and so the inhibition and the anonymity of those things, people tend to believe that they're, more than what they are with that. So if you see somebody that you may know or may not know, a young lady, and she's walking down one of the darker streets, maybe stop her and find out if, she knows where she's going or if she has friends around. That's one thing that we're concerned about is having people be separated from their friends. Also talked about not taking those shortcuts through, the dark streets or the parking lots that are dark. Instead, stay on the well-lit routes. Stay on the routes, even though you might fear being intoxicated. Stay on the routes where the police officers are going to be. We will try to be in the shadows as well. But, our thing is not to throw a wide net out and catch people. We want to make sure that people are safe and that they're not becoming victims of crime or worse. And so that'll be coming out as well. But if you can spread the word.
And just so you guys know, Lonnie Keith, who was the physician's assistant, respected person in this community, was the one that was committing those rapes against our students. And he purposely chose women by themselves walking in dark areas of this community. That's who he targeted. And that's scary to me. As a parent, I have 2 daughters of college age. It scares me to death. But when you're with someone else, even another person, I prefer a big group. I'm like that. I prefer you have a whole gaggle of people. You're going to be safer, but at least have one other partner that has a cell phone and pay attention and walk in those well-lit areas that Chief Feeney mentioned.
Sorry, can you repeat his name?
Lonnie Keith.
So, what I kind of segue into and make an announcement, Mike, is next Tuesday evening, the 25th, is the Moonlight Safety Walk. Thank you. Moonlight Safety Walk on campus. So we're looking for more students, faculty, and staff to take part this year. Last year, our student participation was extremely low. So if you could mention that, it's 6 o'clock to about 8 o'clock next Tuesday evening. It's off. The president's office historically pitches in for the pizza. It'll be up here. We're meeting in I think one of the 220s, 220G and G up here in the BMU at about 6 o'clock. Once it gets dark out, groups of 4. We're cutting the campus up into 4 quadrants. You go out. There will be a scribe with you. You'll point out areas that you don't feel safe in, that maybe need more lighting, that maybe needs the bushes trimmed, sidewalk cracks. It's if you don't feel safe in that area, even with a big group of people, if you sense a potential problem, add it to the list. FMS here at the university has taken last year, or the year before last, they had completed all but one of about 142 projects that were derived from the previous year's Moonlight Safety Walk. So it's an opportunity for people here on campus, and usually people that want to get into one of the quadrants are usually picking one that they use to walk to the parking lot or walk to certain classes, because they know what the issues are and they want to make sure that they get that out there. So that's next Tuesday.
We'll also note, because people are walking around, and as you know, the city and the campus kind of blend together in certain areas, and so if there's a particular light or a fixture or something dangerous, we can usually get the tag number off a utility pole or some other box, and then we send Public Works over in Chico, and they take care of it. So it's a really good way of making sure that the perimeter as well as the interior of the campus.
Because the nexus between the campus and student housing, it's really seamless in the sense of what you see, and we want to be as seamless as we can as your government guardians.
One also major thing that we do during that night is we check every blue light safety phone on campus. Each of the 4 groups checks, calls into 911, uses the blue light safety phone, and that gives us an opportunity to check it an additional time or 2 during the year.
So a
If
couple
you've never
other-
used one and you want to give it a try, come on out.
So a couple other things I wanted to emphasize since I have you here. One, how many people have their bikes registered? It's not a trick question, not trying to say, hey, register your bike back here. Who has their bike registered, just out of curiosity?
Do you all like Mike?
Who has a bike? How about that? So,
Get a smaller bike.
so, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. So we just passed, and it'll be finalized next council meeting, essentially elimination of the bike registration fee. And this is something that just need to understand that we stop people all the time with what we know are stolen bicycles, but we can't prove it. I'm walking through City Plaza Park, a guy stops me, I'm coming back from lunch. The guy stopped me, hey, I'm on the phone with your dispatch, can you stop and help me with the situation? So I stop, and the guy said, that guy right there, who's on essentially parole, has my bike, and it's right there. Well, that guy's had that bike since September, had that run through the police department. We ran it, an officer had stopped him, and it did not come back stolen until we could prove where that bike came from, which was today. Too many bikes are not being registered in this community, and we can't hold those that are stealing these bikes accountable unless we can prove those bikes are stolen. So we have got to do a better job as a community of registering our bicycles. So we're eliminating towards that effort the cost associated with registering bikes, which is I think a $30 fee, and make it as easy as possible, not only at point of sale, but for those who have existing bikes, particularly students, we want to get those bikes registered. So in another couple of weeks, we'll have that finalized, and we'll get that information out to the university. We really want to see students register their bicycles. So if we do have your bike stolen, unfortunately, do have your bike stolen, and we find it, we can get that bike back to you and hold that person accountable. It's just, it happens too often where we stop people, know the bike is stolen, like I said, and cannot prove that bike is stolen.
How many bikes do you recover a year? Not return, but just recover?
We have got a warehouse full of bikes, a warehouse full of bikes that we can't return to the rightful owners because we don't know who they belong to. And look, I'm as guilty as anyone in this room. I have bikes. I haven't registered my bikes. I'm going to get my bikes registered. I'm encouraging everyone else in this community to do the same. We've got to remove every barrier that we can to make that happen. Tom, you had a question or comment?
Register a bike.
What's that?
How do you register a bike?
You can do it online. Did you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, the system's not quite up yet, we're still working on a couple of bugs with the company, but in short order, once it's finalized in the next couple of weeks, then you'll be able to go on to the city's finance department, their website, they'll have a link to the bicycle registration, and it's all free.
So if you go onto the Chico PD app under property
We'll
and
put
put
it
it
on
in there,
we could probably put a link on there.
does that?
So, who has the Chico PD app? That's a great segue.
Yeah.
So, if you don't have that, it is free on Google Play or the App Store. You can download that for free, and there's a section regarding, where is it, Ed?
It's the property module.
Property module, little icon right here, you hit that, you can take a picture of your serialized property, capture it. Even if you don't register your bikes, you can take a picture of your TV, your bike and your serial number, a picture of it. It's a great way to have something. If something serialized is stolen, you'll have it, we'll have it, and you can pass it on to us in the bad event that you have something taken. So that's free. That's one shameless plug. Shameless plug number 2 is Nextdoor. So who belongs to Nextdoor in Peru? So not bad, not bad. We need more students involved in Nextdoor. You guys familiar with Nextdoor? Know what that is? Who's on Nextdoor that can explain it better than I can? Who knows it?
I do.
Please, Denise.
So it's an online, basically neighborhood watch. You go in and you register in different neighborhoods wherever your apartment or your house is that you live. And then the people, there's a lead for that area, and they'll approve you. Usually they reach out to you and kind of introduce themselves and introduce you. You can introduce yourself to them. And then it's just a place where people post things like, my bike got stolen, or hey, there's a weird looking dude walking around, or I have a bike to sell. I mean, it kind of gets into a big thing, but initially it was started out as a sort of a neighborhood watch opportunity, where as a place where we can look out for one another. And I know the the police department is monitoring those and involved in some of those and has access to some of it, so they can kind of see and hear what's going on. I signed up very early, and simply because I signed up as the first person in my area, I'm the lead, which I'm not really sure how that happens, but, and as it grows, then the application breaks off into different areas, so I think it must have a sense of when there's more people in one area, that it makes a new neighborhood, so, because there's been some other neighborhoods added. Did I do that?
You did it very well. So essentially, it's a virtual neighborhood watch. And for people who can't get together because of schedules or whatever, it's a great way to communicate. We belong in our neighborhood. We had someone put out an information about this suspicious car, gave us a license plate, blah, 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 and it turned out to be our next door neighbor who happened to be out doing something. So it's a good way to communicate. The concept is very sound, and really it's just an easier way for us to communicate as neighbors. And I would encourage anyone in this room, everyone in this room, to be part of that next door phenomenon. So we've got about how many people in now?
I haven't checked in the last few weeks. It was pushing 6,500.
So I made a promise that we're going to have 10,000 by the end of the year, so I need your help to reach that objective. So,
I have a question on that because I am on Nextdoor, and I'm wondering, how do they validate if you're really a person in the neighborhood? You know, because for instance, I don't know a lot of my neighbors, but then somebody's added to my neighborhood and it says, welcome so-and-so to your neighborhood, and I think, well, are they really a person in my neighborhood? How do you verify
can you address that, Ed?
Nextdoor verifies the address, so whatever address they put in as their residential address, it'll drop them into that neighborhood. Is there any type of check or balance on if they really live in that neighborhood? I don't know. That's Nextdoor.com's.
But you may be able to find someone that lives in that area and confirm with them if this is a valid person. So probably the way to do that.
And that's really sort of the intent, is for neighbors to get to know one another in that way rather than, and as a lead, I guess I'm supposed to be verifying all of this. And to be honest, there have been some people that it's been a pure gut thing, but I'm like, this doesn't feel right, and I haven't accepted them. And there haven't been any ramifications from that. But most of the time, I ask around, and do you know this person, or do you know that person, or who are these people? And so I think there is a little bit of verification that goes on.
The one thing is we don't actually monitor those conversations are private within that group. In order to get something to the PD, you have to intentionally send it to the next person. We're not like monitoring any
Well,
of the
yeah,
conversations.
yeah.
Just want to make sure people think Big Brother was doing that. But we do, he's extremely active on Nextdoor, and any information that needs to get to us that forwarded to him, he'll act on it.
It has to be sent to us. Go ahead.
When you join, I post things on there all the time to all the neighborhoods, crime tips, meeting notifications like this, so that people know that something's happening in their neighborhood. If there's a specific crime that somebody's investigating and they need some help with, I may post it to that neighborhood specifically and exclude everybody else. Asking, hey, do you have cameras in this neighborhood? We have this shooting that occurred. We're looking for help. So we can reach out to specific neighborhoods, and neighborhoods can reach me directly. So if you have an issue or a tip or something going on in your neighborhood, this house is selling drugs, I'm sure of it, there's a lot of traffic, I've seen hand-to-hands, you can send that tip to us and we can start investigating it. And it's a good one direct pipeline to the police department without having to go to the dispatcher, to go to a beat cop. You know, it may not be a crime that needs immediate police assistance, but it's something that needs to be investigated. Send that to me through Nextdoor and I'll make sure it gets to where it needs to go.
We want to make it as easy as possible to contact and communicate with your police department. So it's not only Nextdoor, but that app that I mentioned. There's a tip line. You can do that anonymously if you want, or put your name down, whatever. Again, it's a way to get information to your police department so we can then take action. All right, see, we're up against the clock. We try to keep these to an hour. I want to thank everyone for attending and appreciate you coming out. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.